We continue now at the top of Daf Chavav Amud Aleph in Mesechet Kesubos. This is Kesubos Daf 26a. On the previous Amud, Rabbi Chia said that if somebody says my brother is a Levi, so that's considered credible. But if somebody says my son is a Kohen, that is not considered credible. And so the Gemara wanted to know what's the difference. And the Gemara answers b'Mesiach lefi Tuma. When Rabbi Chia said that if someone says my brother is a Levi, he's believed, it's actually only in a situation where it's Mesiach lefi Tuma. In other words, in the course of the conversation, he happens to mention that he's a Levi, so then we're going to believe him. Kiyad Amar Rav Yehuda Mar Shmuel. It's similar to the case that Rav Yehuda said in the name of Shmuel. Ma'isa ba'adam echad sheyeh Mesiach lefi Tuma. There was a story with a particular individual who was in the course of conversation. V'yamar, and he said, Zechorani, I remember kashani tinok, when I was a child. Umurkov al ksefo shel Abba, I was on the shoulders of my father. V'hotziyuni mi beis hasefer, he took me out of school. V'shituni askutanti v'tviluni lecho b'truma le'erev, took off my clothes and immersed me in the mikveh in order to purify me so I can eat truma in the evening. So in the course of conversation, the person had effectively said that he was a Kohen. Rabbi Chia Mesayim, but Rabbi Chia concluded the story, or finished the story, that the person finished and said, "V'chaveirai b'deilin mimeni, my friends, they separate from me because they're not allowed to eat the same things that I eat. Vayukorenosi Yochanan ochel chalos, and they call me Yochanan who eats chalos." So in any case, in the course of conversation, he mentioned essentially that he was a Kohen. V'aleu Rebbe l'kuna al piv, and Rebbe said that that individual could be a Kohen based on that testimony, based on that conversation. So you see that when someone is Mesiach lefi Tumo, that serves as evidence, even though he's talking about himself. So the same thing would be true by a relative. By a Mesiach lefi Tumo, he would be believed. And the Gemara continues, Tanya, we learned in a Brisa, Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar Omer, Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar says, Kishem shetruma chazaka l'kahuna, just like truma is considered a chazaka for kahuna, if somebody's eating truma, that is evidence that he is a Kohen. Kach ma'aser rishon chazaka l'kahuna, so too if a person is receiving ma'aser rishon, that is evidence that the person is a Kohen. V'acholek bebezdin eina chazaka, but if somebody is given truma and it's distributed to him by bezdin, that already is not going to be a good chazaka for kahuna. So first the Gemara asks the obvious question, Ma'aser Rishon de Levihu. Ma'aser Rishon doesn't go to a Kohen, it goes to a Levi. Why is Ma'aser Rishon evidence that the person is a Kohen? And the Gemara says it's Rebbe Elazar ben Azariah. No, this Brisa follows the opinion of Rebbe Elazar ben Azariah. The Tanya, as we learned in a Brisa, Truma l'Kohen, Ma'aser Rishon l'Levi, Divrei Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva says Truma goes to a Kohen and Ma'aser Rishon goes to a Levi. Rebbe Elazar ben Azariah Omer, Ma'aser Rishon af l'Kohen. Rebbe Elazar ben Azariah says Ma'aser Rishon even goes to a Kohen. But the Gemara says it's still not evidence. Amor Damer Rebbe Elazar ben Azariah af l'Kohen. I understand that Rebbe Elazar ben Azariah says it can even go to a Kohen, but it might be it's going to a Levi. L'Kohen v'lo l'Levi mi Amar. Did he say that it goes to a Kohen and not to a Levi? And the Gemara says, in yes, Basar de Konsinu Ezra, because this is talking about after Ezra imposed a fine on the Levium. Since the Levium did not all go up to Eretz Yisrael by the times of the second Beis HaMikdash, a fine was imposed against them not to receive the Ma'aser Rishon, and therefore, yes, indeed, it only goes to the Kohen. And the Gemara continues, V'dilma ikru v'yahavule. And so the Gemara says, okay, but maybe it just happened to be that they gave it to him. In other words, he's really a Levi, and they gave it to a Levi. And so therefore, again, it doesn't seem to be evidence that this person is a Kohen. And the Gemara explains, Amar of Chisda says, Hachav am I asking, and here the case is as follows. What's really happening is here, we have a chazak about this person that his father is a Kohen. So we know he certainly is descended from a Kohen. Now there's a rumor that went out that he's disqualified as being a Kohen because he's the son of a divorcee or the son of a Chalutza. And now we see that they're distributing to him Meiser by the granary. So Levi, Delav Levihu. So we know he's not a Levi because again, it can't be that they're giving it to him because he's a Levi. Delav Levihu, he's not a Levi. So Ma'ikol Meimar. So what are you going to say? Ben Grusho Ben Chalutzu. So you'll say, oh, but maybe maybe he's disqualified, and maybe a disqualified Kohen's allowed to get Ma'aser Rishon, but that's not so pashut. Lomi boy Lamando Amar Ma'aser Rishon Asur Lazarm. We don't even need to get into it. According to the one who says that Ma'aser Rishon is forbidden to non-Kohanim, they certainly won't give it to this person if he was a disqualified Kohen. He'd be no better than a Zar, and it would be prohibited. So it for sure would be evidence. If they're giving this person Ma'aser Rishon, it would be evidence that this person is a Kohen. But even according to the one who says that Ma'aser Rishon is actually permitted to non-Kohanim, so why is this evidence that this person is not a disqualified Kohen? Maybe he's a disqualified Kohen and he's allowed to have Ma'aser Rishon, but no, that's not true. That's only true. What we mean to say is that a non-Kohen can eat Ma'aser Rishon. Havile, but they would never distribute it to such a person if you hold, even if you hold that Ma'aser Rishon is mutter l'zarim, they wouldn't distribute it to a zar, and therefore the fact that he's getting it again, we know that he's a descendant of a Kohen, and the fact that it's being distributed to him, the Ma'aser Rishon, it shows that he's not a disqualified Kohen, but again that he is a Kohen of good lineage. And the Gemara continues, V'acholik bebezdin eino chazaka. So it says in the Braisa that if you distribute it in Bezdin, so then that's not going to be a good chazaka. So the Gemara says, what does that mean? I bebezdin lo have a chazaka. If in Bezdin it's not a good chazaka, hey, have a chazaka. Where is it a good chazaka? On the contrary, the fact that Bezdin is giving him, that should be the best evidence. And so the Gemara says, no, Amar Rav Sheshes says, Hachi Kamer, here's what the Braisa means. Hacholik truma b'nichsei aviv im echav bebezdin. Let's say a person, the father died, and now they're dividing up the property, and part of the property is truma because the father was a Kohen, and so now he's dividing up the truma together with his brothers in Bezdin. Ain't a chazaka. That's not a chazaka. That doesn't prove that he's a qualified Kohen. He might be a disqualified Kohen. And the Gemara says, Pshita, that's obvious. Gemara says, not so obvious. Mao detema, because you might have thought, midahanoch la'achila, from the fact that these other brothers are going to be eating the truma, hainami la'achila, so this brother also is going to be eating the truma, and it's a proof that he can eat it. It's a proof that he's a qualified Kohen. Kamash Malon, so that's what the Bryce is teaching us. No, hanach la'achila, hailazvuna. It could very well be that these brothers are getting it to eat it, but this brother is just getting it to sell it. There's no proof from the fact that he's getting this truma that he's actually qualified as a Kohen. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah said, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Rabbi Yehuda says, Ein malin lakuna al piyei dachar. On the basis of one witness, you're not allowed to raise someone up to make him a Kohen. And then the Mishnah went on to say that Rav Shimon ben Gamliel and Rabbi Eliezer, they both say you are allowed to do that so long as no one is protesting. And so the Gemara says, Rav Shimon ben Gamliel, Hainu Rabbi Eliezer, and Rav Shimon ben Gamliel and Rabbi Eliezer, it's the same thing. They're both saying if it's an unchallenged situation, one witness is good enough. Now, if you're going to say the difference is, what if there's only a protest from one person? Maybe that's the difference. Rabbi Eliezer savar irer chad, because Rabbi Eliezer says even the protest of one person is significant. Rav Shimon ben Gamliel savar irer trei, and Rav Shimon ben Gamliel holds you have to have a protest from two people in order for it to be considered significant. But that's not true. Rabbi Yochanan said, Divrei hakol ein irer pachas mishnayim. Everybody agrees irer is only considered significant if you have two people or more. And so the Gemara says, and rather the case over here is in the Mishnah as follows. The muchzak lan bi'avua tahai the Kohen. We have a chazaka that this person is a Kohen. Then a rumor goes out that he's disqualified because he's the son of a grusha or chalutza. So we lower his status. And then one witness comes, to Kohen, when he says that I know that this person is a Kohen. And we'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Chavav Amud Beis.